Welcome to day 3 of the Freestyle Bootcamp. On day 1, we did an overview of your freestyle test and talked about how to find your horse's beats per minute. Yesterday, we talked about freestyle music, and today we're going to cover choreography. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandra Beaulieu. I am a freestyle designer and author of the book Freestyle, the ultimate guide to riding, training, and competing to music. I've created a variety of resources to help you get down the center line with your very own freestyle. Okay, let's get started. I like to think of choreography as creating your dream dressage test. You have the opportunity to create the ideal layout for you and your horse that you enjoy riding and highlights your horse's strengths and minimizes their weaknesses. A common question I get asked a lot is whether to create your choreography first or pick the music first. You can choose either one, and typically you are playing with both at the same time and just making adjustments back and forth. But we will talk about the different options to help you decide which one is for you. If you choose choreography first, this is good for new freestyle riders because you can start fresh with the choreography and just try to create the ideal floor plan for your horse. When you have finished your first draft, you will take a video of that routine and then use that to edit to the music. At that point, you may run into some hiccups when choosing music and decide to rearrange your choreography as needed. If you have your heart set on specific music, that just means you will need to base the choreography on what the music suggests. Listen for transitions in the music and imagine what you will need to do to match those transitions in your choreography. If you have a song picked out for the canter, pay attention to the softer part of the song to see if there's anything before or after your chosen music that you could possibly use for the walk or transitions in and out. There are a lot of ways to edit the music, but the less times you can cut into the music, the better it will sound overall, especially for new freestyle creators. And some music just won't sound good when you make cuts, no matter how hard you try. For your degree of difficulty, you want to pick a few movements to highlight. Try not to make your entire test too hard because that will just overwhelm you and your horse. It will stress you out and make the test look chaotic to the judge. Look at your previous dressage tests and see where you have scored the highest and capitalize on that to try and boost your scores. Let's say your horse is really good at going straight and your center lines always score well. Try to incorporate that by using quarter lines and center lines for movements like your lengthenings or mediums, your free walk, or any transitions and flying changes that would go straight towards the judge. In another example, let's say your horse has a really good trot half pass, but struggles a little bit in the shoulder in. You could keep your shoulder in on the rail to help you with the quality of your shoulder in, but make the half pass more difficult by adding a change in hand or riding between the quarter lines or perhaps going all the way across the arena. Make sure that your best movements are in the ideal placement for the judge. Like lateral work looks best going towards the judge, and extended movements or free walk look best on a long diagonal so the judge can really see the horse's stride and overstep. In my freestyle freebies, I have included a blank arena diagram page that you can use to draw your choreography and print as many pages as you need. You can color code your gaits, and you will notice faint lines on the center line and quarter line to help with your circles. And you can also use a quarter to draw a perfect 20-meter circle. And there's also description boxes to describe each movement. When I'm sketching, I like to use a square box for the halt, X's for transitions or flying changes, long dash lines for extended gaits, and dots for things like counter, canter, and passage. That way I can see clearly what it is for later reference. If you feel like getting some exercise, you can work on your choreography on foot by playing horses. It can be a lot of fun and help you work out challenging spots when you need to figure out how to change direction or set up your next movement. To help you get the timing as close as possible, start by counting your horse's number of strides as they go around the arena at each gate. I find the canter the easiest to start with. Let's say your horse takes 22 strides down the long side and 8 strides through the short side. You can canter the same number of strides on foot to help you draw an arena in the sand. It's not going to be perfect, but it will help you make progress towards your goals. And you can also play horses to memorize your routine on foot. And if you get the arena size correct, you can potentially practice to your music and memorize it really well. Another useful method is what I call timing your movements or count your strides. Timing your movements can be tedious and time-consuming, but it works really well if you are someone that pays close attention to detail. It is very helpful in making sure that you find the right music and get a sense of what fits together. This method also works really well if you are unable to ride your horse on a daily basis because they're with your trainer, or perhaps the weather is bad, or your horse might need time to recover from an injury. First, you will have someone video your horse at the walk, trot, and canter around the entire arena and on your center line, quarter lines, and diagonals. If you aren't able to get video right away, you could already have a similar video when you did your beats per minute, or you can use an old show video to get some of the timing. This will allow you to get started right away, and then you can fill in where you need later. You will refer to the video or in person, count how many seconds or strides it takes for your horse to complete different movements, but make sure to include the short side, the long side, between letters, all the way on the center line with a halt salute, a long diagonal, a short diagonal, etc. So you have a variety of different things to work with. And then you want to ride your required movements for your freestyle and think of some variations that you might want to use so you have the timing. For example, if you are riding a trot half pass, you will want to ride one from the rail to the center line, one from the quarter line to quarter line, or perhaps ride a full zigzag. So that way you can mix and match different movements like a puzzle. Once you have all your movements timed, you will refer to your list when putting together a sample routine. As you draw and redraw your choreography, you can add up the individual movements and make sure that you are under the time allowed. I highly suggest this handy hours and minutes app to add up the timing. It makes it so much easier. So the app is included in my freestyle freebies on the resources page. The overall process for choreography will be the same as it is for your music. You will begin with a rough draft, video your ride, change your routine, video it again, change it again, etc. The creative process will be unique to each individual. It is important to have a really good video of the entire routine from start to finish to use for the music editing. When you film your ride, have your assistant video from where the judge will be sitting at C. As you watch the first run through of your choreography, put on your judge's hat and watch with fresh eyes. Does the routine seem balanced to you? Are you riding at the far end of the arena a lot, almost as if you're hiding from the judge, or perhaps you're performing your best movements on the right-hand side of the arena and may decide to move them around a little bit more? Just pay attention to what stands out or catches your eye. Perhaps all you see in the leg yield is that your contact is not steady and your horse is fussy in the mouth. You might decide then to change your leg yield so that you are facing away from the judge and your challenges might not be quite as obvious. Once you have a first draft drawn out, you can also write down the movements so that someone can read it like a dressage test. If you have a hard time memorizing your routine, you can have someone read it to you to help you stay on course for the video. As you are creating your choreography, you need to plan for mistakes and add certain movements and placeholders in your routine that can help you stay on time. Over time, you will learn to make adjustments within your freestyle and listen for the nuances of your music so that your timing is spot on. Are you worried about blanking out during your freestyle? Well, don't worry, this happens a lot. You will not have a test reader to fall back on, so this can be a little nerve-wracking for most riders. If you have trouble memorizing, try to create choreography that has a natural flow and keep it as symmetrical as you can to help you stay on track. Even if you lose points for the choreography, it will give you more confidence that you could stay on course. Work really hard to memorize key places in your music where you know for certain where you will be in the arena. That way, when you are lost, You will hear the music and know where you should be and how to get there. Let's say your horse spooks or misbehaves and you end up off course. This one is tricky and you need to know your music well enough that you can get back onto your next movement. Let's say your horse totally misses a movement like the shoulder in. You can try to fit it later on in the test on your final center line or on a junk line so that you do not get a 0 for your technical scores. The most common thing that happens to a freestyle rider is that they get ahead of their music because they're tense and rushing when they're at a show. If you have a feeling or know that your horse tends to get quick at a show, you will want to keep that in mind in the choreography. Give yourself a lot of places to ride deep corners or adjust lines to give you more time. For example, if you have a lengthened canter on the quarter line, you can do a last-minute adjustment and keep it on the rail to eat up some extra time by riding deeply into the corners. On the flip side, let's say your horse gets tired and behind the leg at a show. This is less common, but it does happen. If you tend to get behind the music, there are ways to get back in time, such as cutting corners, or you can cut off the entire end of the arena, for example, from M to H or K to F. You can also push movements onto the quarter line instead of the rail, like a shoulder in or starting your 15-meter circle. A lot of riders run out of centerline at the end. I'm sure you've seen it before. The rider comes all the way down the center line for the final salute and has to stand at the halt for quite a while waiting for the music to end. It feels a little awkward watching the rider wait for the music. If you are riding at first level or above, you can add a 10-meter circle to eat up some of the time, but that's a little obvious. I recommend that new freestyle designers keep your final halt early on the center line, around X or before. So that way you have the option of riding all the way to G if you are way ahead of your music. And on the flip side, if you're behind your music, you can always halt early around D or L. In the upper levels, a rider will typically add an extra line where they can perform extra tempi changes just in case their first line of 3s or 2s had some mistakes. Freestyle designers refer to these as junk lines or joker lines. You can plan for this at the lower levels in some circumstances, such as adding extra changes of lead through the trot, or simple changes, or single flying changes. Or simply, you can have an extra diagonal at the end of your test that you can use for whatever you might need. Let's say your last diagonal is supposed to be an extra medium trot, but your horse spooked during the shoulder in. You can make up for this score by adding another shoulder in on the rail or the quarter line and then ride into a short diagonal of medium trot to match the music. If you need more help with choreography, you can refer to my freestyle book and my choreography ebooks. I break down every movement from 20-meter circles all the way to canter pirouettes and offer a variety of options that will give you ideas and direction for your routine. That was a lot of information. That's the end of day 3. You can post your choreography questions in the comments below and make sure to print off that blank arena diagram page so that you can start sketching your musical freestyle.